start with an opening statement from Coach, and we'll go ahead and take questions for Coach Beard and Juju.
Yeah, we're looking forward to getting back with you guys in the fall when school starts and giving you access to our players, but appreciate Juju joining us today. Juice had a great summer. Offensive side of the ball has really attacked some things, been really proud of his approach. I think last year we put a lot of responsibility on Juice as kind of the primary ball handler, so certainly in recruiting it's nice to have some guys that can help Juju in terms of being able to playmate, initiate the offense. So definitely look forward to Juju having the ball in his hands a lot, but then also putting him in positions where he can score more, which we wanted last year, but he had so much responsibility with the ball in his hands. I was proud of his kind of effort and consistency throughout the season when we put him in some tough situations. So there's no doubt, I think, some of the versatility on this roster is going to help Juju individually. Defensively, just been proud of him. We had some pre-summer meetings, and this week we're in our final week of the 8 weeks the NCAA gives us, but he's grown a lot defensively. I think that's one of the biggest compliments you can give a veteran player that's already established, already proven that he could get a lot done in the SEC last year, now to become a guy that we talk about internally about maybe having the best improvement this summer. That's the best compliment you can give an older player when they're already good to begin with. Now they're improving. Proud of Juju academically. He's set to graduate from Ole Miss in the spring. He had some things he had to do this summer. Some of the guys had kind of light academic responsibilities this summer because they've already gotten their degrees, and grad school starts in the fall. Juju was kind of on the other end of that coin. He had some real stuff he had to take care of this summer and pass some real classes. So he's got a few more days here, knock on wood, that he finishes strong, but I've been proud of his development academically too. So I'm looking forward to coaching Juju in his last season in college basketball. We both came to Ole Miss with the number one thing in mind, winning. And, we don't want to speak for him, but proud of some of the things we did last year, but definitely have some unfinished business. It's time for Juju to play in the NCAA tournament again. That's something that me and him talk about all the time. So any questions for Ju? He's got a few minutes before he gets back to study hall.
Juju, specifically as a defender last year, what was your experience? What did you take from it? And then how have you gone about attacking, becoming a better defender?
Since I've been for the summertime, new coach, not new coach staff, but I have Coach Adams been in my, ear a lot about just using my quickness and stuff, that, I'm pretty fast and stuff like that. I never really had got like a guy to actually like sit me down and really tell me, Coach Beard been telling me a lot too last year, but Coach Adams has like really consistently been in my ear about me being, using my quickness on the defensive end. And, just a lot about just competing on defense too, just getting stronger, competing, and just be willing to battle.
Juju, what does having Matt and Jaylen back, kind of that core group of y'all three, what does that do to kind of help you head into the season with them?
It's great, because I built a big-time relationship with Matt, JB, that's going to live for a long time, but it's definitely been great, trying to, like, get a little bit more stronger chemistry between us three and stuff like that, when we in practice and stuff. But it's definitely good because, we can lead, and we just let everybody know what to expect and how things go around here.
Juju, how's it been getting to know the new guys, getting to know the new transfers? How's the chemistry?
It's good, It's definitely good. I knew Dre already because, he played for my coach my freshman year. And, I went to a couple games when I was still in Jersey. But, yeah, I knew Dre already. I knew Mikel since we was younger, playing in AAU tournaments and stuff like that. I'm definitely building a big-time relationship with Sean, Sean Pandula, building a relationship with him, just me and him playing together in practice and stuff like that, just feeding off each other. And, at the same time, too, when we play against each other, competing, for whatever it is, which is assists, steals, and stuff like that, wins. So it's been a good summer with them.
Juju, with obviously today's state of college athletics, every offseason it seems like, guys can make big moves pretty much whenever. Was there any kind of decision-making process for you this offseason? Why did you ultimately decide to kind of return to Ole Miss?
I didn't like not one time second guess what I was going to transfer or not. I gave my trust to Coach Beard. He put his trust into me. And for somebody to just give me, opportunity of a lifetime, how I said, to just come at this level and just basically just give me the keys and just let me do what I do. Is, you can't go around stuff like that, and you always got to show respect to those people. And I got a lot of respect for Coach Beard. So this offseason, I never had no second guess on what I was doing. I already knew I was coming back.
Juju, we heard a little bit about it from Coach, but what do you kind of foresee your role evolving into next season?
Just being a more vocal leader, letting guys know what's going on, competing on the defensive end, and just keep building off what I did from last year.
And it's great, man. A guy from the Bronx is talking about defense in the summertime. It's like a dream.
How does having Sean around help you offensively? Does it let you play off the ball some and maybe do some things that come a little more naturally to you than being the primarily on-ball guy?
Yeah, for sure. And Sean is a great player, and it's been a battle with me and him between us two the whole summer. But every time me and Sean get time to play with each other, it's always good. It's good feeding off him. Especially somebody who is at my height, probably a little bit taller than me, that can do the same thing I could do. I don't have to chase the ball down, none of that. I just play off him. He just play off me.
Juju, you were talking about the other guys, but from a roster perspective, how much better do you think this team has gotten kind of heading into this year just based on talent?
Well, I would say we probably had just more talent last year than this year for probably his perspective, our bigs and stuff like that, Musa and Sharp. But I feel great about this team just for that, because of the relationship we have, the way everybody bonds with each other, just basically I feel like our bond is just a little bit more closer and stuff like that.
Everybody's for Juju?
Thanks, Stu.
Sure, Coach.
Super.